Hello, everyone, and welcome to Director Watch, an AwardsWatch podcast that attempts to get inside the mind of cinema's greatest auteurs, explore what drives them, and maybe we go on a few unrelated tangents along the way. I'm Ryan McQuade, the executive editor here at AwardsWatch, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Jay Ledbetter.
Ryan, this guy directed Lord of the Rings, and he also directed the movie that we're talking about today. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. We're talking Braindead.
What a way to start the series. P-Jack, we're here.
We're here. This has been
coming.
This has been a long journey to get to this series. And I'm so excited to talk about Braindead with you here today, buddy. I'm just excited to talk about P-Jack. I feel like we've done series for a long time, and we've done this show. What have we done this show now for 2 years? A year and a half? Something like that? Going on year 3?
Yeah. No, year and a half.
Yeah. But, you know, year 3 on calendar.
Coming up on 2.
Coming up on 2. But the listeners don't know that, like, there are some history about you and this particular director, and particularly a trilogy that is carried for a long time.
I would say probably the thing that Peter Jackson is most known for. I'll go out on a limb and say.
You think so?
I think so.
You don't think you have to ask me the obituary question this go around of like, I wonder which project is going to be on the breaking news ticker, you know?
Man, we're coming up on 100 eps, man. That's crazy.
It's crazy.
On the side, I was looking at that on the side. But yeah, Peter Jackson. Let's just put the cards out on the table. I am, let's call it Lord of the Rings agnostic. I have very little connection to the series.
Little skeptic.
I think that's
it's fair.
Stretch.
It's fair.
Mild stretch. I have no connection to it really.
It took you a series in 8 years of podcasting for me to finally get you to sit down and watch these things.
But I would say it is an expected journey, not an unexpected one. We were going to get here eventually.
We were going to get here. There was no way. There's a couple series that we will for sure do in our time.
Are there still some left that are like?
Oh yeah. Well, the one that you always joke will be the last one is if we ever did Tarantino.
Yeah, it's the last one.
Because if we
start that series, you know the podcast is ending.
Of course, he's never going to decide on when his last film is going to be. So we will just have to continue. Because I don't think we could do that series and not
maybe our podcast ends when Tarantino stops making movies, and that's why he pushed his next movie.
Because he's like the guy's got to keep going.
Good, I can't stop listening to this podcast.
Where are you
He's a podcaster.
Where are you at now with the whole Hollywood Fincher thing? Are you? Where's your skepticism for that? It's got to be at an all-time high.
I do have a little bit of skepticism. I'm just trying to wrap my head around Tarantino handing off his universe like that, and especially handing off his universe to Netflix.
Well, I think it's mostly still to Fincher, who is like sold his soul to Netflix. And
he has the Fincher thing is weird. I loved The Killer.
I liked Mank,
and
we love Mank.
We love Mank. We think he's putting out good stuff still, but it is kind of like.
It's frustrating.
As far as in the grand scheme of things, Fincher has sort of lost his established place as being somewhere near the center of culture. He just isn't that.
The thing about David Fincher is he is the reason Netflix exists, because he legitimized House of Cards and doing those episodes, and that show became huge. Which then
kind of the architect of prestige Netflix.
Exactly. And that went from prestige television to then prestige films. And he had, Mindhunter as well too.
Which is great.
And then, he's had Mank and he's had The Killer. And he basically has a home where he can do whatever the fuck he wants. And he doesn't have to answer really to anybody, because it's almost like weirdly, Jay, what we talk about with Clint and Warner Brothers, where like Clint can do whatever he wants over there and has for like 25, 30 years.
95 and past his prime. I feel like Fincher could still be making.
No, I know.
I think he actually is, but they're just not events at all anymore.
Well, it didn't help that one of those two films that we mentioned came during a pandemic.
People didn't like Mank.
People didn't like Mank, which I mean they're wrong.
I agree.
Mank rules.
Mank does rule. I need to rewatch
But I
Mank.
think the other thing about The Killer was it's like because it wasn't a priority like award season film, people just kind of and then people also kind of dismissed it.
It also has this thing where it's like, oh, it's just Fincher doing his thing. It's not,
But that movie is so much better
that
than what
movie
people
has a
think it
lot
is.
on its mind.
Yeah.
Like, that movie's great.
That movie is lean, mean, and very funny. That movie's extremely funny at
Are you
times.
talking about The Killer or Braindead?
I'm talking about both,
Lean, mean,
but
and
kind of
fun.
funny. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I think it's going to happen. A lot of people are saying that it will happen. There's too much money involved now.
I imagine if you buy a Tarantino script, it's
You will
going to
make
get
it.
made because
Yeah.
I assume that cost, a pretty penny. Will
I
it be
think
made
it-
by Fincher? I don't know. Although Tarantino probably had the stipulation that if it's getting made,
It's got to be made by
Fincher.
Dave Fincher, which he has deep
You're not
respect
giving
for.
this to the Russo brothers.
Well, no, and I think the whole thing about Pitt continuing it is he wanted comfortability.
I
in the-
think that's what it was.
Yeah.
I think Pitt talked Fincher into doing it. Is
Yeah.
kind of my thought based on absolutely nothing. That's the fake story. That
Well,
I've
and then
come
he's
up with
been
in my
trying to
brain.
kind of do. Hasn't he been trying to want to do like a Chinatown sequel? So in a lot of ways,
that has been in the works forever at Netflix.
so if like this is his way of not having to even touch that, but still be in
I
that
actually
sort
think I
of.
would rather him do the Tarantino thing than the Chinatown sequel. That sounds silly.
Absolutely, I would love him to do that. Yeah, and then it'd be like, yeah, I don't want him anywhere near a Chinatown sequel. That's like the Ryan Murphy. What was it when he did the Nurse Ratched prequel television show? And it was
Well, we all watched that.
We all watched that, and it was fucking awful. I watched like an episode of that, and I couldn't even get through the rest of it. So it's just never a good idea to remake or continue or expand upon classic films.
A stone cold masterpiece.
Though I hear everybody
classic.
loves that show or loved that show, Bates Motel.
That was the one I was going to bring
familiar-
up. People like that.
People
But
do
You
love
also
that.
there were
It's
also
one-
so
very
many
rare.
psycho sequels too. It wasn't like that
Yeah.
was a
Well, yeah, that's no, that, you're
sacred
absolutely
property.
that's fair. But like, and then there was the shot for shot Gus Van Sant remake, which
Never
is
seen that one.
It's, I mean, it's like I just said, it's a shot for shot remake.
That's what they say.
Not Alfred Hitchcock, and it's Vince Vaughn in the title role. So where you at with Vince Vaughn?
He's doing some weird stuff now. I feel like
He's
I don't
got
know,
that.
what's going on.
He's doing that. Like, what is it? Like
He's got that Apple detective show.
he's got that. He's got the Nanas or
Oh, the
Italian,
the book club
movie where
core.
with like it almost like with his like style of comedy with like book club.
Yeah, it looks weird.
It looks. Will I watch it? 100%.
It's coming out on Mother's Day,
100%. I'm going to watch that though.
aka my birthday weekend.
You know, when I go to Cannes, and I'm going to watch it on the plane. It's only
I
right.
think that's the perfect place to watch it.
I think it's the right place to watch that movie. Jay, we're here to talk about Braindead
And Peter Jackson.
and Peter Jackson. I'm so excited to talk about Peter Jackson with you. I really
Yeah, I'm
like
pumped.
Tarantino. I think there's like 3 or 4 other people that, if we had our chances, we talk about still. There's some big names that we still haven't talked about over the years. There's
We've done a lot of people
we've done a lot of people,
over
but
the
we
years.
we still got a great lineup this year. But Peter Jackson, we're here to talk about. No, we're not here to just talk about Lord of the Rings and his bigger films, because there's a man before the rings. There's this guy who the next couple episodes are really a testament to how studios, Jay, I think, were able to get. It's a questionable thing about Peter Jackson is how the hell did they give Lord of the Rings and hundreds of millions of dollars to a guy that made the movies that we're going to talk about over the next couple of weeks? That's the sort of the thesis going into Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it's crazy. When honestly, when you look back at Lord of the Rings, one, it is one of the most influential film series of all time. I think it kind of set up even more so than the superhero movies that were popular around that same time, I think this set up the world of movies that we have lived in for the last 25 years.
Go not without giving anything away because you haven't watched the films leading up to
Yeah.
this start of the series yet. And even though, yes, you are going in with this pretty agnostic, and hopefully this series and these rewatches and our guests that we'll have on these episodes coming up will change your mind, especially on the Lord of the Rings episodes. We'll see. Jay, is it safe to say that Lord of the Rings is the blockbuster or the movie of like the big budget movie of the century so far?
No, it's Marvel.
Oh, okay. But you don't think that like
If you're putting, and again, I haven't seen them again, but even I can acknowledge like those are real movies, and most of the Marvel movies are not real movies. So,
but you don't think like this era for the early 2000s that sort of then bred off Marvel because Marvel is, you know, the successful off of the back of the early 2000s.
Much of the foundation of what Marvel was. I think in 50 years, people will still be watching Lord of the Rings, and I'm not sure they'll be watching many Marvel movies.
Or they'll be watching the dreads of Marvel at that point, as opposed to
because like not rewatching. You know, they're not going to be watching
Ant-Man,
Iron Man
3,
2. No, 3 is good.
They're not going to watch it.
Watching 3.
They're not going to watch it.
But Lord of the Rings, I think, is going to sustain. The Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings movies, I think, will sustain.
Well, it helps that it is the cross section of critical and commercial success, and it is the marriage of a giant risk from a pretty, I mean, unknown, but an unknown property on a grand scale, and a gamble. One of the biggest gambles, Jay.
That is the thing. And again, we're talking about a movie today that was directed by the same guy who made Lord of the Rings. And that is an absolutely ridiculous notion when you look at it. You know, we think it's crazy that Colin Trevorrow went from
Safety Not Guaranteed
to Jurassic Park. That makes this look like, you know,
that's
a lateral move. Yeah.
Man,
it's insane.
I felt bad a little bit for Trevorrow.
Why? Because he keeps making bad movies?
No, I felt bad because like Safety Not Guaranteed is a fine film. Like it's a decent debut.
It's like totally okay.
And then Jurassic World, again, another fine to totally terrible.
I think it's terrible.
But it made a ton of money, right?
It made a ton of money.
And they lined him up for the third Star Wars movie.
You're forgetting one.
No. I'm getting there.
Okay, all right.
They lined him up.
He was set up. He was going to be the Star Wars guy.
He was going to be the one to do the Return of the Jedi. He was, if you look at the concept art and everything like behind it, much different film than what we ended up getting with Rise of Skywalker. Doesn't mean it was good, but it was definitely, he was taking some risks.
I have not dug into that. Some people say it was interesting. I assume people are saying that because it's not Rise of Skywalker,
which is very safe film as we know. But yeah, then the book came out. The Book of Henry.
Oh yeah, we opened the book.
And what we found was a really stinky movie inside.
It was one of the most baffling movies I can remember seeing.
But not a movie, I would say, that would like get you rid off of a Star Wars movie. But they were so panicked by the response to Rise.
They just wanted to go to Mr. Safety. You know what safety is guaranteed?
J.J. Abrams. Which wasn't Abrams. No. He wasn't connected to. No, I thought at one point Abrams wanted to work with Spielberg on 1010. Or he like maybe he produced.
I'm sure he wanted to.
But it was Edgar Wright.
Work with Steven Spielberg his whole life.
But it was Edgar Wright that worked with wasn't it Edgar Wright and Jackson that did the script for Tintin? Or Edgar Wright was going to do the sequel to
Tintin?
Because that's the other thing that's so big about Jackson is he worked. He wasn't just a director. He's also he's a big figure in all this. I've put up the theory.
Edgar Wright did write that with it wasn't even, he didn't even write it with Peter Jackson. It was Stephen Moffat, who's a Doctor Who guy, Edgar Wright, and Joe Cornish.
Okay. I think Jackson was going to do the sequel. if I'm not mistaken. One of them we're going to do the sequel.
Direct the sequel. Yeah, I think that was the
I
kind
think
of
that was the
agreement.
plan, but then the movie never made enough money, which I got to
It's a good
say,
movie.
Tintin's a damn good
The movie
movie.
made $374 million, and we couldn't make a sequel.
What was the budget?
135.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, that's a lot.
I think it was one of those where they're like, we got away with this one, but I don't know
I
that we
don't
can
think
do
we
it
need it.
again.
And then I don't remember how good Warhorse did that year. It was a double year for Steven. So it was kind of like
That's one. I'm a Warhorse defender.
yeah, you're a big glue guy when it comes to Warhorse.
Love that horse.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not. But I'm willing to give it a rewatch. There's some movies this year.
This is how crazy Steven Spielberg is. Warhorse made $180 million.
On a how much of a budget?
70.
That's not bad. That's that's 2.5, right?
But Warhorse made $180 million.
Well, it was also like a really popular play and everything.
Yeah.
That's a snapshot in time sort of property.
God, Lincoln made 275. What a great world that was.
Man, Lincoln's a good movie.
Do you know how much money The Post made?
I want to say $140.
180.
Wow.
For The Post. It did
Democracy was
cost $50 million, but
he shot that in between
for
like
the talent.
He kind of did like a Schindler's List with that kind of thing too. He was like really quick, got that out in the fall because he got the big budget film Ready Player One.
Yeah.
Out like a couple
months
later.
Man, I gotta remember what it's like to make a real movie again.
Well, it was also like too, it was very timely. He was trying to like that was Steven like trying to chase an Oscar again right there. It was like
that new Spielberg UFO movie.
Injected sign me the fuck up.
My veins.
Well, I've been like the one. This. I've told you this for years. Where I'm like, God, Papa Spielberg needs to go back, make some sci-fi movies again. It would be really cool. And then he's on like a heater right now because West Side Story's great. The Fablemans, probably
masterpiece,
one of the best films of the decade so far. And then it's like, oh, what are you going to do this? You're going to go back to sort of with John Williams and everybody. You're going to go make another sci-fi movie, and it sounds like a spy movie.
Is John Williams doing it?
Well, he's got to do like the score. It's John Williams.
No, I think John Williams is like retired now.
No, I get it. I bet you he's going to get him out of there. I bet
we'll see.
He's going to get him out of there, buddy. Anyway,
he is so old.
Yeah, but it's John Williams. He's going to do it for his buddy.
He's in his 90s now. Right?
If you were 90, you'd still do this show with me.
He is 93.
Good for him. He's doing one movie a year as opposed to like when he did like several movies a year.
He did Indiana Jones, right? Dial of Destiny. He can't end with that.
He got fucking who was nominated for that.
That
movie sucks.
Soft defend that movie.
That movie sucks.
No, I think it's kind of interesting.
I think it's horrible, Jay.
It's pretty good.
No, it's bad.
Not like really good. I think it's better than Crystal Skull.
You think it's better than? No, I'm not going that far.
I need to rewatch Crystal Skull. But, should we talk about Peter Jackson?
UFO, Steven Spielberg.
It doesn't have a title yet.
Okay.
But it does have Emily Blunt, Josh O'Connor, Colin Firth, Coleman Domingo, and Wyatt Russell.
Yeah, that movie's going to make $1 billion. I'm ready for it.
I hope so.
Well, the Fablemans didn't make really anything, right?
No, the Fablemans crashed and burned.
And same with West Side Story.
West Side Story crashed and burned as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to see who's done the score. They don't have a composer yet.
Yeah. I think John Williams is retired.
I think John Williams is going to do it.
We'll see.
We've never heard the words, "This is my last score." We've heard, "This is my last Star Wars. This is my last Indiana Jones." We have not heard, "This is my last score," period. So there you go. Yes, let's talk about
who should become Spielberg's new guy if Williams is retired?
James Horner?
A guy
Thomas
who
Newman?
I just cannot figure
Thomas
out why
Newman?
he doesn't do more scores.
Who?
Justin Hurwitz.
Oh, you think Hurwitz should be with Spielberg?
I think that would be a good match.
Oh, I think that would be a good match. Are you excited about potentially that Evel Knievel film from Chazelle?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess Chazelle is good.
I think he can be good. You're a more Babylon guy than I am.
I'm very Babylon pilled. it is crazy how he seems to be in like trouble from that movie.
Well, yeah, because
people seem to really be holding it against him
because it was bad and it made no money.
but
It made negative money.
It lost money for sure, but
a shit ton of money.
West Side Story lost more money than Babylon.
Yeah, but Damien, come on now. Just hear what the words that just came out of your mouth and what you implored. That you were just trying to compare a failure from one of the greatest directors of all time to that of the guy that made Babylon. Get out of here.
I guess, well,
Steven could fail the rest of his life. It wouldn't matter. He's the guy that made fucking T. All right?
I know. But why does Chazelle not get a little more rope for La La Land, which made $500 million?
Because there weren't dinosaurs and Indiana Jones in it.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying a little more rope. I mean,
he doesn't also have his own production studio like Amblin.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think because First Man didn't make a crap ton of money.
No, it did not. Awesome.
Yeah. So he needs to make.
I need to rewatch that movie. Right now, I don't like it very much.
Anyway, we should shut the fuck up and talk about.
Speaking of movie moguls, Peter Jackson.
He is an entity within himself. I think most people nowadays, they mostly know of him from Lord of the Rings, the King Kong era. Yes. Obviously now
and honestly, the freaking Beatles stuff.
I got to tell you, Jay, and the reason why it's kind of great that we were talking about Spielberg. When I was doing my sort of thesis, and I want to get your take on this, I kind of think of him a little bit like our version of George Lucas.
He loves to freaking tinker with stuff. He loves his little toys.
He's to tinker.
Zemeckis. He's like George Lucas.
Ang Lee.
Yes.
Ang does that with technology just like Jackson did.
He has refused to make a not high frame rate movie for a long time.
It's rough. Do you think Peter Jackson's going to use like all the AI assistants?
I think most people are, to be honest.
Didn't he kind of do that with the Beatles stuff? With like the audio?
I can only assume.
He
almost had to have.
Yeah. But before all that, he was a really scrappy independent director. It's a lot of, when you think of Peter Jackson.
Scrappy is an understatement. He was
clawing.
Yeah. He makes George Miller look like a a Nepo baby.
Well, I think in a lot of ways, he's sort of built off of the back of like Sam Raimi in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. I mean, this movie today, you think this has a little Sam Raimi influence?
I was thinking a lot of Evil Dead 2 when I was watching this.
Yeah, 100%. It's like trying to make Evil Dead 2 on an Evil Dead budget.
Oh, you're saying like on an Evil Dead budget, but I'm going to make Evil Dead 2
1 budget, but I'm going to make the bigger movie.
I like that. Yeah. But obviously, we'll talk about the big films. It's sort of a gradual kind of climb to the top for him. You know,
well, it is. It's a kind of a regular slope, and then he
hits
scales Mount Everest from one movie to the next.
And then we'll be interesting to talk about. I haven't seen King Kong in a long time. I'm fascinated to hear what you think about Lovely Bones. And then we are going to talk about The Hobbit. We're only doing one episode on that, all 3 films on one, as opposed to individual episodes for the Lord of the Rings. Because I love you, Jay. Even I couldn't do 3 episodes on The Hobbit.
Well, the thing about that is it more of a punishment to have to watch them in such a condensed manner and only get 1 episode out of it? I mean, I think that's the question.
I mean, you're lucky I'm not telling you to do the extended.
But yeah, we shouldn't spend 3 episodes on those. The podcast will get so few listens that it will get erased from the feed.
Sure.
People will just assume that we stopped making episodes.
Now, when we talk about the Hobbits, we will only be talking about the theatrical editions. But
yes,
when we talk about Lord of the Rings, we will talk about. I know you're going to see both editions.
I'm watching both because I haven't seen these movies in so long. But I've never seen the extendeds.
But we will talk about the extendeds, and whether those work or not.
I bought the 4Ks.
You did. I have seen that.
A nice new big TV.
I was going to say you purchased a whole TV and everything for this.
Just for this series, yes.
This is the most expensive series to date.
by a country mile.
You know what? Just send the invoice to Eric. I'm sure he's going to be like, "What the fuck is this?"
Oh, that'd be good. Yeah.
Yeah, just like a good bit. Just be like, "What is this? $1,000 for a television? No,
I've
that's
been
not.
wondering, can I write this stuff off on my taxes?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
I need to look into that.
Braindead.
Braindead.
Now, Jay, this is his debut film, correct?
No.
No, right?
No,
But
he
it's the
had two
debut for a
movies
series.
before this.
Did you watch them both?
I did.
Can you give us some thoughts on both
Yeah,
of
we
those?
can
I
start
didn't.
on just generally the background of P Jack, and then
P-Jack.
his first two
We're gonna call him
films.
P-Jack the entire time,
Yep.
folks. If you find that annoying, well, then you obviously haven't been listening to the show
Yeah,
nearly
this is a
long
very
enough.
annoying podcast, so that makes sense. No,
Do you think people like at a certain point like just want to punch us for some of the annoying bits?
well, the
that we
cool
run?
thing about a podcast is instead of wanting to punch us and like slowly getting heated, you can just turn the episode off.
Yeah, but I don't know. People hate listen a lot.
We're too compelled. Yeah, we
I
do have some
know.
hate listeners. That's fun.
Yeah, there's some hate listeners out there for
Yeah.
some of our main shows, and I go like, touch grass. Anyway,
I believe they called us condescending.
no, they didn't call you that. They called me that.
And Sophia.
Yeah, which I mean, to be fair, I'm not.
Where's the lie?
Where's
If anyone is
Jay,
condescending, it's probably me.
I was gonna say, if anyone it is, it's you. I mean, Jay, you podcasted me with me for 8 years. Have I ever been condescending at all?
I'm sure you have.
I'm sure I have, but to the level of
I don't think
higher
to be
degrees.
labeled as generally condescending. I don't think so.
Listen, I like to joke around a lot.
I got in trouble because I didn't like Spotlight as much as other people. I got in trouble because I gave Spotlight 3.5 stars. Sorry.
Well,
Sorry that I only like that movie.
Well, I mean, to be fair, they're right. You just deserve to burn in hell for not liking Spotlight more. I mean, shoot, we're doing a whole series because you gave 3 stars to Lord of the Rings like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So the point
10
being,
years ago, 15 years
15 years ago. So the point being out there, listeners, is like, if you want to become friends with Jay, just keep badgering him about his bad taste, and one day he'll do a podcast series.
Well, the one that we did, the other side of this coin was you doing James Cameron.
Big Jim.
Yeah. And you totally came around on that. So we'll see if I come around on LOTR. But let's talk about Peter Jackson.
I do love Big Jim, by the way. He's
yeah, you love Big Jim now.
He fucking rules. I was so wrong about that. I'm so excited.
You were very wrong.
I'm excited about the new Avatar film.
Yeah, I am
which is
too.
crazy.
Way of Water rocks. That is a very good movie.
The
Still
whales
don't like Avatar 1, but
the whales made me cry.
Yeah,
it was beautiful. That movie was beautiful. Anyway,
Peter Jackson. So honestly, as far as his upbringing is concerned, it's not particularly well documented or terribly crazy. He was just a young man who freaking loved movies, who lived in New Zealand. And as he went along in his life, he became increasingly obsessed with movies and was obsessed with King Kong, which is something that will come up over and over again and is definitely going to come up on this very episode, the discussion of Braindead / Dead Alive.
How are we calling it today? We're calling it Braindead.
I'm going to call it Braindead. That's how it's listed on Wikipedia. That's how it's listed on
the title card of the film.
Title card of the film. I'm calling it Braindead. Sorry
out
for
there.
everybody who saw it in theaters in America when it was released.
By the way, Dead Alive
was called Dead Alive.
By the way, Dead Alive, terrible title.
It's also way too close to Evil Dead.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what they were trying to get people in the room for.
Yeah,
Braindead's actually a lot cooler.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So yeah, he just kind of started making movies, and eventually bought a 16mm camera and made a film called Bad Taste. And Ryan, you have not seen Bad Taste?
I have not seen Bad Taste.
So Bad Taste is a film that cost approximately $25,000.
Ooh.
And it makes Braindead look as austere as The English Patient. So it is like the most lo-fi, gory, gross, splattery nonsense you've ever seen. It's pretty good. It does get a little tiresome at certain points because they kind of have one move, which is pure gross out shock value, which is often, valuable. He's even in this first film that costs so little money. There's a lot of puppets, incredible practical effects. There's one character whose head hits a rock and his brain starts oozing out, and over various periods of the film, he picks up pieces of his own brain off the ground, and then also picks up pieces of other people's brains and puts them in his own head, as if that will kind of like bring his own brain back to life, you know. Um, it is very similar, I think, to Braindead in certain ways, where there are incredibly memorable sequences of extreme violence blended with comedy, not taken terribly seriously, but also just tremendously gory. That this is not a film to recommend to just anybody. It is a movie about aliens who disguise themselves as humans who want to kill humans to make food for their restaurant. It's basically they're treating human beings like chickens at KFC, and they're like, this is the new blend required to get our fast food franchise back on its feet. And then chaos ensues from there. I'd give it just a nice 3 stars. It's worth watching,
Sounds
especially
awesome.
in the context of this movie or of this series. So
Okay.
check that one out. The movie after that is, I would say, and that one I don't think is available on any physical media. You can watch it on YouTube.
Did you watch it on YouTube or did
I
you go
watched
to
it
the
on
Seven
YouTube.
Seas?
I watched it on YouTube.
Okay.
And I also watched this next film on YouTube, which is called Meet the Feebles. Ryan, are you familiar with Meet the Feebles?
I am familiar with Meet the Feebles.
Have you seen it?
I have not seen it though.
Yeah. So this is a tremendously important film because this is the first time that Peter Jackson worked with Weta Workshop. So in all honesty, Meet the Feebles is the true origin of Lord of the Rings. Because I would argue that Weta, his relationship with Weta is the main reason that he was able to make Lord of the Rings, why he was such a prime candidate to make that series. But Meet the Feebles is actually a quasi parody of the Muppets. It's a puppet movie that makes fun of the following: AIDS, gun violence, pedophilia, heroin addiction, Vietnam, um, what else? Sodomy, homosexuals. It is in the same way that I said bad taste gets a little tedious because of it's just pure shock value. This is that taken to 1,000. It really is just a series of how far can we take this? And they take it very far, and often it is very intriguing, but eventually you're just like, this is just bad South Park. What I mean, it's just not, it's not really achieving what I think it's trying to achieve. He apparently was pitching it as a TV series, as I guess this sort of anti-Muppet show. And he got some money from some Japanese investors who said, no, let's make this a movie, man. This should be a movie. And they went way over budget. They ran out of time. You can tell that the final product is a little stitched together. It's, in my opinion, not very good. A lot of people have really latched onto it. This is another one where the distributors have just said, we are never going to release this on physical media. Just not, we have no interest in doing that. However, they also don't care if anyone finds a print and reappropriates it and puts it on YouTube. So there have been some restoration efforts of the film from just fans, which you can see on YouTube. It looks okay. As a huge Muppet fan, I was kind of like, this isn't really doing what I think you think it's doing. It is about these super sexually charged puppets doing a variety show. So it's very clearly this play on Muppets. Actually, there was a Muppet show recently with the band, the Electric Mayhem.
Yeah.
And Peter Jackson did a cameo on the show. And in the show, the band reflected on the time that they met the Feebles as sort of like one of the dark periods of their lives. And Peter Jackson was like, oh yeah, sorry, mate. Didn't mean for that to hurt you the way it did.
Didn't mean for that orgy to happen.
Yeah.
You know,
Which is, kind of funny, but it's a weird one. It's certainly memorable. I will say that. It is very
again,
memorable.
this man went on to make Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of fascinating, Jay.
There's a BDSM scene between a rat and a puppet, like a puppet costume cow with these enormous udders. It's, certainly
So Kermit and Miss Piggy.
something. Well, I mean, yes, there is the heroin addict in the film is a frog. He's also a knife thrower in the show, which I guess is sort of akin to maybe a gonzo, and he throws a knife directly through the heart of, I believe, a puppet cat, I think. A lot of blood, a lot of violence, a lot of innuendo, not even innuendo, just like graphic sex. So, it is what it is. I don't think it's successful. And that brings us to Braindead.
So you watched that with the family?
Yeah, that one was. I said, "Oh, it's a puppet movie. Let's let the little one. Let's let the little one watch." That one again as well on YouTube if you want to check it out. Both of those movies are like a clean 90. So in that regard,
what'd you give them for grades?
I gave Bad Taste a 3, and I think I would give Meet the Feebles a 2 stars out of 5 probably. Not for me. Not for me.
Yeah.
Still love those Muppets though.
Yeah.
And that might have been why I maybe didn't take to it as much as
because you're like, how dare you make fun of my beloved Muppets?
A little bit. You can definitely do a play on it. But
do you think it's like mean spirited? More than
it's a nasty movie. I mean, you can accuse that movie of being racist, sexist, homophobic. I mean, everything. Like easily you could make that argument.
But hiding under the disguise of
that would be
being comedy.
Yes, it's that's the point. That's kind of the.
Well, that's like the thing. Like, it's interesting that you bring that up because like you mentioned like South Park, and I mean they kind of do
Team America, which I think is a very smart, clever movie with absolutely some stuff where you're like, ugh.
Yeah, where you're like, oh wow. I mean,
but there's a cleverness to that movie that Meet the Feebles absolutely lacks.
Yeah, well, it's also because, and this is no shot at Peter Jackson and the creatives behind that Meet the Feebles, but like. Parker and Stone are kind of like geniuses.
They're
of
really
satire.
good at that.
Yeah. They know how to use absurdity and have their point stick and land, and honestly, have their point age particularly really well.
Yeah, a lot of times it does. Sometimes it doesn't. Really misses the mark in hindsight.
Yeah. Well, I think that it was more individualized on the television show, but like even like.
Yes,
Team America and Team America age really well.
I think most of Team America has aged well.
Have you ever watched Book of Mormon? Have you ever gone to the theater and seen it?
No, I'm actually planning on going this summer.
Oh, okay. You have to let me know how that is, because I've heard some people think it does age well, and some people say it hasn't. So it'll be interesting. I've always wanted to watch it. I've never had a chance to see it.
Yeah, I want to. I'm gonna try and check it out. See if I can get tickets.
Yeah, because we got to get all prepared for that. For our
Kendrick movie.
For the Kendrick movie that we bring up in every episode. I feel like at this
point, wait for it. It's what
sounds
the hell,
wild.
Man?
Yeah,
crazy.
Well, that's the kind of thing that it's the kind of risk that only gets made nowadays with sort of established people. But you also are like, should this exist? It's almost like a little bit like that Jamie Foxx movie. You know about that Jamie Foxx movie that he directed?
Oh, the basketball one, All-Star Weekend.
The All-Star Weekend that like will never see the light of day because I've heard it's so bad it would like kill everybody's career.
Yeah, that's insane. The other thing about Meet the Feebles that is important is it was the first time that Peter Jackson worked with Fran Walsh, who has been his creative partner
from that point on. Yeah.
Yeah, they met on the set, or at least while he was making Bad Taste, and they wrote this puppet sex movie together and then never stopped working. So there is this in your mind, you have to be like, well, he surrounded himself with different people, got away from the schlocky horror, and then made Lord of the Rings. No, he just worked with the same people and made Lord of the Rings.
No,
it seems impossible.
When we get to the Lord of the Rings episode, I mean, there is encyclopedias on how this, the journey of that movie got made and everything, but it's
crazy.
But he does kind of
really that starts with Heavenly Creatures.
Yeah, but he also through these films, he is working a lot with the same people because New Zealand and filmmaking, it's such a tight knit group of people, and they all are connecting and making these small films, and then they sort of then take that. He kind of, because he gets these blank checks, he takes everybody with him to the big leagues when they get the big check for Lord of the Rings too, and then I don't know, they're just loyal to him and his visions, and for better or for worse, and they've haven't stopped working for him since, or they've gone on to do their own things because of the goodwill of working with him.
For me, if you ask me, what is the main reason that Peter Jackson, director of Meet the Feebles and Braindead, was able to make Lord of the Rings? I think it is Weta. I think it is his relationship with Weta, his commitment to pushing visual effects forward.
He had something that nobody else had.
Yes,
which is which is now one of the premier machines for visual effects, and obviously the dawn of a rival to Industrial Light and Magic, which was really the one. And I mean, off the heels also too of them creating their own shit with Lucas and the Star Wars prequels, which then reinvent, there was Jurassic Park, obviously, but in the early 90s, but then those Star Wars prequels took it to really why we see a lot of those CGI films that we have nowadays, mixed with Lord of the Rings, mixed with obviously in 1999 The Matrix.
And to reiterate, when he started working with Weta, they were basically a poor man's Muppet workshop. They were a puppet shop.
They were a startup,
and they have now become one of the most powerful visual effects companies in the world. Yeah,
they're the ones that they are the ones that, I mean, for lack of a better word, they are really the ones that have sort of taken the digital technology and the because like when we'll talk about this with Lord of the Rings, but what Weta was able to do with Gollum is now in it's in Marvel movies, it's in everything. It's in the Planet of the Apes movies. Modern cinema doesn't exist without this, and in order to tell that story, you have to get to these films, and you have to get to this relationship with
Weta does Avatar, right?
I believe so. I think that they do that as well too, because it's the motion capturing, and then it leads to this film that we're here to talk about today, which is Braindead, and
no CGI in this movie.
No CGI. You can tell.
A lot of effects, though.
A lot of effects. You could tell. And you can tell that, Jay, like, when I was watching this movie, there is, like, honestly, a love for the horror films. Much more, I guess, than the satire of the Muppets with Meet the Feebles. But there is a love to these B film, horror film movies, and it does feel like unintentionally like a love for Evil Dead and movies like that had come before. Sure.
This movie wears its influences on its sleeve.
Exactly. And so I'm very curious, Jay, what you think of Braindead.
This movie's a hell of a time, man. I had just a great time. I honestly don't know how much there is to talk about with this movie other than being like, that was super awesome when the priest backflipped off of a grave and said, "I kick ass for the Lord." And then just kind of being like, what other moments did you like, bro? It's like when guys just sit around and name their favorite football players. But I thought it was a really well put together film. I do think the effects are incredible. It takes everything to the absolute extreme. Obviously, there is a lot of influence from the films of Sam Raimi. This goes just as far as sheer body count and blood level. This blows every Sam Raimi movie away. That doesn't necessarily make it better than other Sam Raimi movies. I think Sam Raimi is a much more ambitious visual filmmaker in his best work than this movie is able to touch. There's certainly a low rent quality to this movie that I think some people will really take to and other people will be put off by. It is a B movie, a true B movie. Even though it had a $3 million budget, like it was made for a lot of money, and you can tell I mean, I'm guessing 2.5 million of that had to be squibs, just blood.
Yeah, I mean it had to be because
They didn't pay for actors. They didn't build many sets. They did some location shooting. Shout out to them. And they
most
did
of
have
it's done though in that house
a
though.
rat,
Yeah.
a rat monkey, uh, visual effect stop motion rat monkey, which was interesting. And Ryan, where does this movie? Where is the first scene of this movie set?
Oh, it's like let's not say where
This is critical to the Peter Jackson canon.
um I don't know. It was like I was kind of weirdly. I was like, "Is this on Skull Island?"
It is on Skull Island.
Yeah,
That is the what the location card says. Skull Island.
really. Okay, well there you go.
Yeah.
I was absolutely right, and I'm done for the
You
rest
got
of
to
the
trust
episode.
yourself, man.
I don't want to second guess myself. The listeners are listening. You know what I mean? But I'm glad I got that right. Anyway, continue, Jay.
No, I mean that was kind of my opening statement, I guess. But it was fascinating that Skull Island is sort of the beginning of his commercial.
Well, he's obsessed with
Hollywood career,
with King Kong. Like he's
obsessed with King Kong.
Yeah. I mean, like it is. And when we talk about it over the next couple of weeks, it's like we are leading up to Lord of the Rings, but we are also leading up to that film in a lot of ways. I think too.
Yeah,
Like
he made a King Kong movie.
I know we're going to talk about it, buddy. I don't know. Yeah.
Cool.
Did you know that? Are you prepared for that as well?
I just found it on his Wikipedia page.
Okay, there you go. You know what's his four on IMDb? You know what it is?
I imagine Lord of the Rings and that probably.
So his four, like, because
or
like
a Hobbit,
when
or
you go,
honestly Beatles maybe.
so when you go to IMDb, and this is like an IMDb game, people play this all the time. It's like the four things that are right there at the top, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you
I do
want
not know what the algorithm for that is.
I don't know what it is either. Jay, do you want to
just sometimes it's really weird.
Do you want to just guess? Don't look it up. Do you want to guess?
I mean, I'm assuming it's 3 Lord of the Rings.
No.
Well, this is nonsense then.
It's silly.
It can be stuff with him as a producer too, right?
It can be, but these are all films that
These
he's
are
directed.
all films that he's directed.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's put up there for producers, but yeah.
What about 3 Hobbits?
No. No Hobbits.
Okay. Return of the King.
No.
Fellowship of the Ring.
That is correct.
King Kong.
That is correct.
Lovely Bones.
That is incorrect.
Oh my God. I don't know. I mean, this is crazy. What?
Bad
surely
Taste.
not Bad Taste.
Yeah. And Heavenly Creatures.
Okay.
That's his 4.
Bad Taste.
Can you believe that?
I do. I want to know what the algorithm for that is. That's bizarre.
I feel like Jay's gonna like look this up, find out what that algorithm is, and want to like completely go into IMDb, change the code to fix it.
I'll make that a formula on an Excel spreadsheet for sure.
It's a fun game. I don't know if you ever do that. It's I think it was on Doug Benson's podcast. They used to do that too, and you have to guess it. And sometimes they can take a zig and a zag. Sometimes it's just the most popular. Sometimes it's like that, and you never know what it is. Braindead. Yeah, Jay, I watched this movie. Hadn't seen it. It's just one of the Jacksons I hadn't seen. Sort of Heavenly Creatures and
you hadn't seen his schlocky.
I hadn't seen the schlocky horror
free
films.
Hollywood stuff.
Didn't really find a necessary reason to do it until today. And I watched this. And I'm gonna be honest with you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Jay, you know your boy is never squeamish.
Oh,
when it comes to horror films, I'm never usually like
stomach turned a little bit.
Violence and language and sex and just anything in movies. Like I'm never want to be like whoa, but maybe it was because I watched it on like I watched it. You can only watch this on like YouTube.
It's a YouTuber.
I think like the low quality of it mixed with
makes it feel like a documentary.
Makes it feel like it really did, and also the just absolute what's the best way to describe it? Just the abundance of this and how it is
relentless.
An onslaught of blood and death and violence and gore and absurdity. And I was both laughing a lot and I was just like, whoa, I've got to like pause this. I had to watch this in 30-minute increments.
Really?
And I had to walk around. Yeah, and it's like only an hour and a half. I had to watch this like in three settings because it was a lot for me to.
So what were the toughest kills for you? Can you remember?
Oh, there's just like this sequence in the middle where like it feels like everybody's being killed, or no, it's like towards the end of the film and everybody's just dying left and right. And I
You're not
was
even
just,
talking about the lawnmower scene.
no, the lawnmower scene I was fine with actually.
It's the lawnmower scene is so anonymous.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
that one I was expecting. But it was just like it's just like the almost the comedy of error, sort of like deaths at the end and people's heads being bashed through and hands going through heads and like the sequence where that made me laugh, but then I'm like, what the fuck was like when you see someone's hand go through the a person's body and then you clearly see a shot of them as a doll, right, in the same clothing, in the same shot, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And I'm like, it was so jarring to me because I was like, wow, it was actually an impressive cut of absurdity of that. They got that person out of there, put a doll in there, the blood's still coming out, but it's all done very continuously. It was super impressive. Like, I don't condemn this movie, not condemn this movie at all, for going for it. It was just a ton to consume, and that's not a negative. That's the point of this style that he's going for here. So I actually honestly respect the fuck out of him for going all the way with it because I
He
think a
certainly
lot of
went all the way.
directors kind of stop, and I think he fully this movie is like excess with violence
It
and
is
it's
maybe the most excessively violent movie I've ever seen, and that is honest. I really can't think of another one.
no, I mean like if and what's so funny because like you watch a movie like this and then I remember when I was a kid and there were so many people mad at Tarantino and others for making like Kill Bill. And I'm like, did you guys watch this one? Like, did you guys like skip a decade and like forget that like the guy that made Lord of the Rings was like killing people left and right for like 30 minutes straight and it's some of the most twisted, dark stuff about being tethered to one's parental relationships.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Tarantino stuff kind of has this air of prestige to it.
Yeah,
Whereas this, you're just like, yeah, this is
it's a
garbage.
schlock. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah. But no, I think the movie is absurd and violent and wild and I had a good time with it. Like I don't think that, I don't particularly think it's like the
It's
greatest
kind
movie
of a
I've ever
hard
seen.
movie to talk about.
It
It's
is
just
a
like,
very hard movie to talk about, but it's also one where I was just like, well, I mean like I think that its commentary is pretty on the nose, and it's not really maybe it's not even really that great of a commentary to be fair, but
I
it's
mean, what is the commentary?
I
I don't
don't,
know.
I don't know, just about like being sheltered and I don't know, not being able to stand up to yourself. And I don't know, like even beyond that, like once you break it down, it doesn't really have to say anything other than it's just like an exercise in a director going all the way with it. And I was really impressed with it. I think the movie actually was like
It's a
really
horror
shot well.
movie about trauma.
Yeah, exactly. And boy, do we get a fuck ton of those movies
And it is
nowadays.
kind of it's almost hard. Any movie made around this time, you can translate and be like, kind of about AIDS, right? You know?
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking
It's
a
hard
little,
to put that on this particular movie where a zombie nurse has sex with a zombie priest and they have a zombie baby.
yeah.
But, it's in the ether.
I do think that that's a little bit there with the mother son relationship about being different and wanting to stand up to themselves in the face of this sort of monster of beliefs and but then is possessed by it. And I, can I be honest with you, Jay? I know this is going to sound crazy.
Okay.
Um, but I was weirdly with these are very over the top performances, and these are and
I don't know. Are you gonna say like it almost made you cry at some point or
no,
something?
it did make me cry, but I was just thinking weirdly, I thought a little bit about the parental dynamics between the Patrick Wilson and Meryl Streep character in Angels in America, or a little bit with this. I know that that sounds weird, but I was just thinking about when I was watching this, I was thinking about the last time I sort of saw like this sort of this tethered, close, I
Yeah.
have, relationship in cinema this year, and that was the first thing. And so I had that note down. I was like, why am I thinking about this very serious, important miniseries when I'm watching? So I guess what I'm saying is I'm bumping up my grade to Angels in America because of that, but
Because of how inspired it was by
probably by brain.
Braindead, Dead
Yeah.
Alive.
No, but I was just thinking about that in terms of like we've seen it before and we see it along after. It's just like, you know, people hiding who they want to be because of the conformity of the people that are in their families or the, of or being so I was thinking a lot of Beau is Afraid a little bit here
I was
too.
about to bring that up. That's one of the movies that it reminded me of.
Another one of just being like so they're cut
The
the
big
cord
finale
movies.
where the mom turns into a monster.
Yeah, or like he
Very
finally
Beau is Afraid.
the
It
idea of
reminded me
being
of Beau is Afraid, and it reminded me of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Secret of the Ooze when Shredder becomes Super Shredder.
yes. See, we're making all these comparisons that totally call us out and who we are.
She does. She
But
becomes Super Shredder.
she really does. No, you're not wrong. So what you're saying is that movie did that movie come out before this?
It did.
Oh, okay. So see where Peter Jackson's stealing from
Ripping
already.
off Secret of the Ooze.
But no, I was thinking about Beau is Afraid a little bit too, just to the fact of like the guy wants to, have this relationship with the girl, but the mom doesn't approve of any of it. I
I
think
would be really interested in watching that movie again if it wasn't 17 hours long.
it's a really long movie. Though I think like the middle section of it I actually think's the best part
I
of Beau
think the
is Afraid.
beginning section might be the best part.
You think the beginning, like with the
Where they're in
Nathan
the
Lane?
city.
Oh, where they're in the city, not
Oh,
the
the
late.
stuff with Nathan Lane. Nathan Lane was incredible in that movie.
Yeah, I
But
think
then,
that just
but as
runs
I'm
it.
thinking about it, it's like, yeah, the parts I liked were sort of like the beginning, and then the middle had some interesting stuff, and then the end was pretty interesting. And I'm like, I don't like that movie that much.
But it is like the tonal. I think it's like the fact that it's like tonally consistent, and it does linger too long. It's the 3 hour movie.
It is a 3 hour movie, which is
But I
astounding.
but I did think like the stuff in like
I
the
did just roll my eyes at that movie when it was over. I was like, all
yeah.
right, man.
Are you excited for his new one, Eddington?
We are recording this on the day that the first footage from that movie has been released. And boy, oh boy.
Does that look like a movie?
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's definitely going for something.
Yeah.
We will see. I'm not really an Aster guy.
I thought you liked Midsommar.
Midsommar is my favorite of his. Hereditary, I think, is kind of whatever.
Yeah.
Beau is Afraid, I think, is annoying, even though I like the beginning, the middle, and the end. Uh,
You like sequences.
there's
You don't,
stuff in that movie that's very good.
yeah.
It's
I think
less than
Parker
the sum of its
I think
parts.
Parker Posey's good in it too.
He's great in it.
I think
We're in a
I
Parker
think
Posey moment.
I think Joaquin Phoenix is good. Like I think he gets the character and the tone. I think Patty LuPone's great. I like individual people are good. I think the daughter that is Nathan Lane and Amy Ryan's daughter in the movie is terrible, and I
Yeah,
think
she's
that
pretty
that's
bad.
what brings down that section. But yeah, I'm not a big Astor guy either. I'm more of an Eggers person. If I have to choose between the A24 horror boys that came out around the same time, Eggers is just an interesting filmmaker.
Very different filmmakers, but
Very
yes.
different, but they were branded those boys for a while, and then now
Or the
Eggers.
A24 Golden Children.
Yeah, well, Astor is like completely in the canon now
Because,
of A24.
yeah, Eddington is an A24 movie as well, right?
Yeah, and
You'll be
he
seeing that soon.
yes, I will. I will be seeing that soon. So by the time this releases here soon, I'll be in Cannes.
That trailer had a lot of buzzwords in it.
It it did. I'll just tell you this. I don't know if I'm going to touch that review. I don't think Ari Aster wants me touching a review of his. That's for sure. Because sometimes I just think he's, like that
I
short,
admire his ambition.
that short that you told me never to watch.
Yeah, the Keeping Up with the Johnsons or whatever it's called.
Yeah. So I did watch it after you told me not to watch it.
The
Like a
Strange
couple.
Thing About the Johnsons.
Yeah. Truly one of the thing about it is it's such a wild premise. Honestly, that was another thing that was sort of reminding me about this early version of Jackson, of just these absurdist premise that he took to the extreme. And, Astor was doing like 30-minute short films and Jackson's making these bloody hour and a half long films. And what they all kind of
That
have
is actually kind of similar. It's sort of
yeah.
like em- emotional Dead Alive.
Mm-hmm.
It's yeah,
But the
cultural
problem,
commentary Dead Alive.
I know everybody like thinks that that's so fucked up and everything. Well, like watching that short, I had more questions by the end of it than anything shock value of just like the mechanics of the world, and it all fell apart and crumbled. Like most of Ari Aster's movies, to be fair.
I think that is kind of annoying. I think a lot of his work is kind of annoying. I think it's very kind of pleased with itself.
It's like, don't you think I came up with this really great concept?
Yeah.
And it's like, did you though? Like, so it's like, yeah, I think a guy that
It's kind of like shock does not equal insight.
Yeah, or just because you had maybe like a breakthrough, you have to like finish the thought all the way through. Like Hereditary stumbles to the finish line because of that. For me, like it's an interesting idea, and then when it starts adding more of the supernatural element.
Hereditary. Sometimes, and I'm not like this all the times.
Uh-oh.
Sometimes when a film is so specifically staged and it starts to feel like a little distant to me, and it starts kind of caving in on itself, because that's a movie that is about a messy existence, but it's like a dollhouse. I mean, literally a dollhouse movie.
Yeah, by the end, they literally have the dollhouse in there.
Yeah, it sort of, eats its own tail a little bit.
Yeah,
through its process. But I'm in the minority there. People freaking love that movie.
Yeah, people have like taken that and they think it's like the greatest horror movie of the.
I think for people in their like early mid 20s, it's like one of the defining movies.
Where do you think people stopped watching movies?
You're asking when did movies become less popular? Like when did they not become mainstream?
For example, you said today on this show, I know we're barely talking about Braindead, but I think that this is actually a good point to talk about with Braindead.
Tell you who was Braindead in that movie, the daughter.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Which one? And Hereditary? Good for you. 10,000 points indeed. Is the fact that like you said in 50 years people will be watching Lord of the Rings still.
Uh-huh.
And the question will be, are you sure about that? Because it feels like people don't watch movies beyond 20 years ago anymore. And that's a lot with streaming services and algorithms, but you also have to seek things out and want to be able to seek things out and challenge yourself. Like even people that love Peter Jackson, have the majority of them seen this movie?
No, and this is a very specific movie. I mean, I guess the better question is, have people stopped watching Raiders of the Lost Ark? Is that a movie that people don't return? Like, do young people seek out Indiana Jones anymore?
Well, I mean, you've got people that didn't understand the Fablemans and didn't realize that.
We did have a new Indiana Jones, so that kind of kept it.
Yeah, we've had two Indiana Joneses in this century.
But so disregard like a big franchise like that. Do people go back and seek out Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
Well, I mean, what I was just going to say is when the Fablemans came out, you saw people going like, I don't get it. And it's like, well, you didn't follow the guy's career and understand he's been building to this his entire existence. Like,
I mean, that is the thing about that movie. If you don't understand the history of Steven Spielberg, that movie is gobbledygook.
Yeah, it is. But I
think it is a masterpiece.
Exactly. Like that's the point of the whole thing. It's like we went on this journey with this man.
But is that not the same thing as going into Captain America what is the last one called? I don't know, the Red Hulk one. And you're like,
Brave New World.
is that not the same as needing to understand the history of Captain America to fully appreciate Brave New World?
Sure, but also I'm not making you watch the same movie 16 times in order to get caught up. I'm making you watch some of the greatest movie of all fucking time. Like, you know what I mean? In order to understand that. Also, it makes you also look beyond just what's on the text and go underneath the levels and meet the director at the movie they're trying to make.
And I actually think that movie works even if you don't.
I think it does too. I think it's a beautiful film, but if you know,
it's about a man's relationship to art, and it means a little bit more if you understand the director Steven Spielberg.
I think if you're the most popular director of all time, and you've been talking about this for decades, and you meet that movie on its level, and just do a Wikipedia search on Steven Spielberg and his life, that movie will knock you on your fucking socks. That's just my opinion on it. And if it doesn't, then
watching that was one of those movies where I walked out of the theater and I was like, "Oh my God, that was unbelievable."
Yeah, I walked out
the first viewing. I just, there are other movies like I remember Nope. The first time I watched it, I was like, "That was super interesting. I need to unpack that." Mm-hmm. And now I think it's phenomenal. One of the best movies of the decade. Yeah. Walking out of The Fabelmans, I was like, "Wow." Is that one of the best movies of the decade.
Is that your best movie of the decade so far?
Oh,
I don't want to put you on the spot.
Honestly, it might be Nope.
You think so?
I think that movie is special.
That is a special movie. I can't wait I want Peele to make a new movie.
He's got one.
He's becoming my guy. Well, he's always been my guy.
I didn't love Us.
Well, yeah, you've never been on that train, so he's definitely my guy.
Yeah, you can have him.
That's fair because I'm taking him. I've been there since day one.
I mean, Get Out and Nope. Good grief.
Is it bad to for me? I think Get Out's his third best movie, and that's a really good movie.
I mean, I think it's the second best because I don't think Us is that good. I've had long conversations with people about
we talked
the
about
logic of Us. Yeah, I don't get it.
But you know what? Even with the logic of Us, I still man, it's a little bit like Tenet, or like the vibes of that movie and everything. I just rock with it.
You know what you should have said? You should have said, you know what else doesn't make any sense?
Braindead?
Us.
No. Us?
Us.
No, we make sense. We've been doing this long enough.
Humanity, man. Us.
Oh, I thought you were talking about you and me. I thought you were bringing
That's the point, man.
Oh, look at you. What are you, Matthew McConaughey, getting all philosophical on me?
Listen, man, I'm trying to get into politics, man. He's taken a real pivot here recently.
Yeah, he really has, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what he stands for, though.
I don't know.
Have you seen that? Have you seen the video where he's on that podcast and he's talking about his tuna salad recipe?
I have not.
You go take a look at that.
I'm also not a tuna salad guy either, so.
Oh, no. Oh, that's right. You don't like certain consistencies.
I don't like when when things that should be hot are cold.
You think tuna should be hot?
Yes. Well, tuna or room temp. It can't be cold.
Why can't it be cold?
You put it in a sushi roll? It's not supposed to be served cold. It's stupid.
Well, sushi can be cold.
Sushi's not cold.
Or room temp?
Tuna salad is cold.
Okay. Well, not if you just got it right out of the can and you make it like that.
No. Excuse me. Did you say can?
Can.
I don't eat anything out of a can, sir.
Okay. Well, where are you getting the tuna from? You're getting it
fresh tuna?
Well, yeah, you could do fresh tuna, but there's tuna in a can.
I'm catching it. I live in Atlanta. I get it.
Oh, you catch it out of the ocean.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so you don't do egg salad either?
Don't do egg salad. Don't do chicken salad.
Deviled egg?
I am lukewarm on deviled eggs.
Man, this is getting rough.
I can choke them down, but certainly not my first choice.
Repeat that again. Gotcha.
We need clearer audio.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're not a big we've talked about this before, but certain condiments you're not a big fan of. You're not a mayo guy, right?
I'm not a mayo by itself guy. I like a lot of mayo based.
Well, nobody's putting mayo on just having unless you're
people put mayo on a sandwich.
Well, yeah, I put mayo on a sandwich.
Never catch me doing that.
You don't put mayo on a sandwich?
I'm not putting mayo on a burger.
No? It's delicious.
Pass.
What about
Too thick.
What about a mustard?
Love a mustard, but you're
Like a
talking. Here's
Dijon?
the thing. Here's the thing about mayo. What kind of milk do you drink?
2%.
Skim.
Oh, you do a skim?
I'm a skim.
So you don't actually drink milk.
Yeah, the great line from Parks and Recreation: "Skim milk is just water pretending to be milk."
Milk. Yeah, that's what you're
very,
doing.
Very funny line.
Exactly. So when I go to your house,
I drink skim. So skim. Well, you can have Jet's 2%. Jet drinks 2%.
There you go.
I
don't drink. To be fair,
you can share a baba with Jet.
Hell yeah. By the way, I don't drink that much milk.
Dude, growing up, I was a milk
fiend.
They called me the milkman.
Oh my god.
I was out of control with the milk.
You were like tacos, Carl Malone.
Milk, spaghetti, milk.
Oh, that's mailman. Never mind.
So you were like in the same category as Carl Malone.
Well, he's the mailman. You're the milkman.
Chicken fingers, milk. Burgers, milk. I was just milk.
Pizza, milk.
Pizza, milk.
Pizza, milk. Yeah.
Never broken a bone, man.
Chocolate milk.
Love a chocolate milk. Indulged recently and got a chocolate milk. Just had a great time with it.
Yoo-hoo?
That was a real treat. At a restaurant. Just ordered a chocolate milk.
Just at a restaurant? Like, did they make it them? Like, they made it themselves?
My friend, it was a Waffle House.
Oh, I like how you kind of put like a accent on it, like an Amelia Perez accent on it. Oh, the Waffle House. What do you get? What's your go-to at a Waffle House?
I mean, you just go All-Star, right? I mean, you go All-Star, you get the waffle. I don't like their bacon, so I get sausage.
Yeah, this is correct.
Scrambled eggs with cheese.
Hash browns?
Of course. Smothered, covered.
Yeah.
Chunked.
Yeah.
Maybe chunked. It doesn't always have to be chunked.
Doesn't have to always be.
And you get your toast with some jelly.
What kind of jelly? Don't say grape. I
normally go strawberry.
That's the in a diner setting, that's correct.
Yeah. And, maybe you get a chocolate milk.
And that's what you had. You had a chocolate milk.
Yeah. It's wonderful.
Did you go with the family?
Yes. I did not go by myself.
How many? Well, I mean, hey.
Could have been no shame to
no shame. I'm not going to say
pod who go to Waffle
you go to Waffle House by yourselves.
Read a newspaper. Go to
you
Waffle
gotta
House.
Eat. People got to eat.
Got to eat. It's a pretty affordable option.
What's the lowest place you could go eat where you could judge somebody, like by themselves?
Where you're like, why? Oh,
why'd you go eat by yourself there?
I mean, I think going to Applebee's by yourself is that's pretty low.
You think you have to have a 2-person occupancy at every table?
I mean, I'm judging anybody for going in there in the first place, but yeah.
I think if you go to Subway and eat there.
Oof. I haven't had Subway in
you know what I'm saying?
A decade.
I haven't had Subway since I was in high school because there was one across the street.
Probably that long. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not good. It's
okay,
just convenient. So Braindead. Now that we're off.
Unbelievable what we're doing here. We need a guest who'd somewhat ground us. This is out of control.
What do you like about it? Talked about it. Tell me your thoughts.
I mean, it's just
an undescribable kind of film.
Violent it is. That's really kind of all it is. It doesn't take itself seriously whatsoever. The whole plot revolves around a rat monkey hybrid who bites an overprotective mother, whose son is dating a Romani gas station employee, like convenience store cashier.
And seems like a good couple, by the way.
They're pretty good. It is weird at the beginning. When the one guy, she's in love with the other guy. The delivery guy. But then very quickly the Romani mother or grandmother is like, no, this is the guy.
This is the guy.
Because he made what? Like he spilled pencils and it made a star or something. Isn't that what happened?
Yeah.
And that was the sign.
Do you ever?
And they go on this wonderful magical date at the zoo where he sees his father drowning in the pool
as one does.
That's love.
That's love right there.
And then the mother gets bit, and from then on,
she gets bit early in this movie, by the way.
Very early in a short movie. Although actually not as short. an hour 44.
Yeah.
It's not the lean mean 90 that
It should have been a 90.
first couple are. It does feel like
Should
that
have
a
been.
little bit. You know, it's vile
Mm.
when she pusses in the custard.
Yeah.
That
No,
was
when like her,
disgusting.
no, it's her face. It's her, isn't it her
Yeah,
face?
it's her
Yeah.
her pustules.
Yeah.
Yeah, they squirt out into the custard and then everybody eats the custard. Very
Well,
gross.
get ready for it, Jay, because there's going to be far more worse things in the water supply thanks to our government than what's in that custard.
Well,
So
can't wait. I've got my lawnmower ready.
Cheryl, you know what I mean?
It
You know what I'm saying?
it's a wild.
We're doing
wild
good.
movie.
That's what I'm saying.
It really does just feel like a movie where it's like, yeah, you kind of have to watch it and see these crazy parts because all I really feel like I can do is describe them to you, which is not doing the movie justice because they are executed so effectively and conceived with such extremity that that's what makes the movie. It's just how crazy it is. And that is from the twisted mind of Peter Jackson and Fran Walsh, who would, again, go on to make Lord of the Rings.
Well, what's so wild is this. I think it's just the buildup of this. And honestly, Evil Dead, Beau's Afraid, weirdly, a little Blue Velvet was what I thought about too at times. Sort of the small town and the setting and the sort of innocence that then
the evil of suburbia.
Exactly. And then but then I also weirdly thought of like Pee-wee's Playhouse. Like
I could see that as well.
Like the scene where like you're mentioning at the lunch when she's like kind of, you know, it's all about to combust or whatever. It felt very comedic and
it is very funny when she's trying to still be on the like fancy ladies committee or whatever
and she's
called,
and it's almost like a little Weekend at Bernie's and trying to figure it out. Truly one of the wildest designs, character design, when he's got her chained up underground and he's like feeding her and like taking care of her, and the girlfriend sees it, and I would have been like, yeah, I'm never coming back here again, I can tell you that. I'm gonna go find that other guy. It's some weird like you know, it that calls up a little bit of Psycho a little bit there too, right? Than what we talked about earlier, a little bit of like Norman Bates taking care of his mom, even though his mom in this case is a zombie.
Mommy problems. Tales all this time in a horror movie.
Oh, I mean, come on, like we love a torture.
What do you think about the zombie that gets its head stuck in a light fixture?
God, it was so cool. Like that's the thing. It's like half of this stuff is like, it's so bloody and gory and fast. That's the thing I can say about this. This movie's got juice. It like moves.
It's relentless. Man.
It's relentless. It doesn't stop. And it's like,
and every kill is memorable.
It's extreme. And it's like,
except for the kills, honestly, to me, the lawnmower section is actually one of the
tamer
least interesting. I just don't think it's as interesting as some of the other stuff. It's not terribly creative. That's just sheer volume.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, like, but
I understand.
No, totally. But I watch this and there's a lot of the camera work that he's doing here. You know, that's the thing about Raimi, and Raimi sort of in horror really, when you think of Evil Dead, you think of the first person of the entity kind of like zooming around the space, right?
Raimi and everything. The camera is just. Do you like Evil Dead 1? I don't love.
I think Evil Dead 1 is an interesting exercise, but ultimately the real vision,
like a proof of concept.
It's really the audition to get Evil Dead 2, and that's the movie he really
absolutely rules.
Masterpiece. And then I think Army of Darkness is
I love Army of Darkness. Yeah.
And did you ever watch the TV show Ash versus the Evil Dead?
No.
I think you would have liked it. It's a lot of fun.
God, Sam Raimi, even you ever seen The Quick and the Dead?
Yeah, I watched that. The day after Hackman died.
Really? First time?
No, I mean I'd seen it before. I just wanted to
that movie rules.
Talk about a handshake movie, like a passing the baton movie.
Yeah, a little bit.
Got Sharon Stone, who produced the film, and
Yeah.
stuck up for
That
Leo
was a
and
Sharon
Russell
Stone
Crowe.
vehicle, basically.
She stuck up for Leo and Russell Crowe, paid their salaries out of her own pocket. And then you got Crowe and you've got DiCaprio, but you've got Hackman playing this, eating
Taking
the
it super
scenery.
seriously.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
he's like continuing his his Unforgiven phase, and he's
hmm
absolutely incredible in that
Knocking
movie.
it out of the park.
Absolutely,
It's
no,
basically
no,
Mortal Kombat, Western Mortal Kombat. It
yeah.
rules.
What, but actually, like, well, it's actually kind of, yeah, and a little bit. It's got the Leone more homage to it.
Yeah, but it
Um,
literally has a bracket.
yeah, it does. Um, yeah, it does. It's all about like, what is it? Like a challenge, like a duel. Anyway, I think it's great. Um, it's not as good as For Love of
He
the
is
Game.
the stuff that Sam Raimi is doing with the camera in Quick and the Dead is just like
It
my
rocks.
understanding is that Hackman hated making that movie because the stuff that Raimi was doing was so meticulous that
Yeah,
essentially you became more
a
an
prop.
action figure,
Yeah.
yeah, than an actor. And he was like, "This sucks.
I wonder
Let
if
me act."
I wonder how Gene Hackman would have dealt with Fincher doing 80 takes, 90
Probably would have
takes.
loved it.
Probably would have hated it.
Well, he
Uh,
hated Wes Anderson.
he did. I heard Murray talk about that recently, where he was just like, "Yeah, Hackman's life was he was fucking miserable," but then he would come on set and do scenes, and they got the best out of each other.
Honestly,
Yeah.
possibly his best performance.
Ooh,
I would probably go Conversation if you're putting a gun to my head, but
yeah. I would say it's those two. Though I do have fondness for him in Unforgiven. I think that's like,
it's great and Unforgiven.
he's so good in that movie, and
Welcome to
it's
Mooseport.
he's great. And people do people underestimate Hoosiers? Is it just because it's a sports movie? Because I think he's phenomenal in that.
Yeah, he's good. It's kind of a little hokey of a movie. I mean, we talked about Crimson Tide. Great in that.
Yeah. Oh, well, there you go. That's actually the top four. It's Unforgiven, The
It's great in
Conversation.
Birdcage.
He's great in the Birdcage. Oh, that's in the five. He's even great in. I know you've never seen it, right? You've never seen Reds, but he's got like
Mm-mm.
three or four scenes in that movie. He just comes in, knocks it out of the park, and then he leaves, and he's just gone. And he's just great about doing that too at a certain point as well. But anyway, yeah, I think that movie is wonderful. I mean, it's no For Love of the Game, like I was telling you, but which is also a movie that feels so weird from Raimi because that movie visually has nothing going for it, and it feels like the ultimate, like, you know what I'm talking about, the Costner baseball movie. Did you ever watch that one?
Yeah, he had his austere era where he was like, "Take me seriously, please."
But like he's not doing anything inventive with the camera or anything whatsoever. It's just kind of like
I
a
would argue he's
typical.
not doing a ton in A Simple Plan, which is a movie that absolutely
Oh, that movie.
rocks my socks.
God, I love that
But
movie
he's
so
not
much.
doing his Raimi thing.
I got the 4K for that.
Oh, there's a 4K for that?
Arrow Video did a
Hmm.
4K.
That
It's
movie rocks.
phenomenal.
For Love of the Game is so
Billy Bob wrote that, right? A simple
he did.
plan.
Yeah.
He's great. I love Billy
No, he
Bob
did not.
Thornton.
I
No,
was wrong. He did not.
who wrote the screenplay?
Scott B. Smith?
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
He's our next series.
Mm-hmm.
We're two.
Billy
So
Bob wrote. Did Billy Bob write?
he wrote
I don't want to speak
one
out of
false
turn. He
one
wrote The
false
Gift.
move,
Yes, he wrote The Gift.
and he wrote One False Move that we talked about
He
last
did,
year,
but he wrote the Sam Raimi movie, The Gift.
and he did Sling Blade, which he
He
won the
did do
Oscar
Sling
for.
Blade.
You know, he's on that show on was it Paramount Landman?
Yeah,
One of
people love Landman.
people. I mean, those clips are
People between the
everywhere
ages of
online.
40 and 70 are eating Landman alive.
Do you ever watch it?
No,
I
I don't watch TV, man.
I watched a little bit of it. It's good. It's Billy Bob and Ham and Demi Moore's in it a little bit. I just love Billy Bob Thornton. He's just a good actor. We should have him in more things. Anyway, Braindead, just a phenomenally absurdist, wild, over the top movie. It knows what it wants to be. It carries its influences on its sleeve, Jay, and it shows a
But
director
it
that,
goes so far that you forget about those influences in the moment.
yeah, I think it's no. I honestly I agree with you.
Very
Like
visceral.
you're just kind of like I think it has its influences, but like the person that's behind it is like, yeah, I have all my influences, but I'm gonna
Yeah,
turn this to 11 or 12 even, and I'm just gonna keep going and going and going, and
agreed.
I'm not gonna stop
So
until the credits roll.
let's talk just briefly about coming into the series, your relationship with P-Jack.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and then I think we could start wrapping it up here.
Yeah.
I think my relationship with Peter Jackson is one that he is a foundational piece within my love for cinema young. Because I think the Lord of the Rings experiences, and I'll talk about them individually as
Mhm.
experiences.
Are they the movies that made you love movies?
I think in the theater,
Yeah.
I think in the theater. At home, I'd watched all the films that I love. You know what I mean,
Mhm.
and sort of
I mean, this came out when we were pretty young. You and I would have been what,
eight.
nine,
I was
eight,
eight.
nine?
Yeah,
Yeah.
or
I think I
nine.
was
Yeah, no, no,
nine.
nine. Yeah, because it was 01 to
No,
03.
2000.
No,
Yes, 2000 to 2003. It was
no.
2000, 2002, 2003.
It's 2001, 2002, 2003.
All right, I'm looking it up.
Look it up. They came
Look
out back to
it
back to
up,
back years.
Scotty. Look it up.
Fellowship, 2001.
Fellowship came out in the year
Here we go, listeners.
2001.
Yep, and then 2002.
A
And then
year to
2003.
never forget.
Yep,
So these came out when I was 10,
and I was 9 because you're a year older than me.
something
Yes,
like that.
'cause you were born in 91,
I was born in 91.
and I was born in 92. Okay. Now that our listeners know what our ages are. Anyway,
What's your social security number?
not giving that to you,
Okay.
at least on this episode. So, um, I remember them being a massive big deal. And I mean, I had seen a lot of movies in theaters, Jay. A lot of kids' movies, a lot of
Mhm.
movies I honestly probably never should have seen in theaters to begin with as well. But I think this is one these
Showgirls.
exactly. But Lord of the Rings was the first obsession I had with a theatrical experience. Does that make sense? Like, I think
Yes.
with something that was fresh and new to me, obviously Phantom Menace in 99, because I was a 7-year-old and loved Star Wars. There's no disputing that. You know what I mean?
You know my Phantom Menace story.
No, I don't. But I would die. I'd love to listen to it.
8 years old, walked out of it. Dad, I didn't like that very much.
Did you only see it the one time?
I've seen it since then. I only saw it once in theaters
Oh, okay. I saw it like
because I didn't like it.
I thought it was like fine because of the end, because I could justify the Duel of Fates, but everyone in my family wanted to take
No,
me to it.
people were going ballistic over that
Yeah,
thing.
everybody
Especially
wanted.
everybody our age. Look, I was a little asshole.
You were?
8-year-olds should like that movie,
Wait, Jay, you were a little asshole.
and
You're
I
not.
continue to be to this day.
I was gonna say a little bit. But no, I I just remember becoming obsessed with them, and I thought, and they were the films that I think I saw the most from the ages of from when I was born to about 15. The most I saw in theaters because, and it was probably until
And I wasn't allowed to see these in the theaters.
it's probably like Dark Knight was when that all changed, and I saw that like 4 or 5 times in theaters because it was the summer, and that was like, okay, yeah, all these other movies aren't as good as this. I'm gonna just go watch like 30 minutes of that before, because back then you could just walk into a movie, you could sit down in a theater while you were waiting for an hour for your movie to start, and I would just go into the Dark Knight and I would watch like 40 minutes of it, and then I'd be like, okay, I gotta go watch Wanted or whatever the hell else came out, or Salt or
Oh,
whatever came
remember that
out.
they curved those bullets?
Yeah. Remember how they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna make a sequel to that." I'm like, I don't know how you're gonna do that. You killed everyone.
It was a
Congratulations on
magic loom,
that. Exactly.
a loom that can tell the future.
But I remember becoming obsessed with these, and I think,
I was a Potter kid. That's really the difference.
well,
I was a Potter kid.
to be fair, I loved Harry Potter. I read all the
Yeah.
books, and I saw all the movies. The Harry Potter movies are different because those always came out like in November for the most part, and that was right around my mom's birthday. So my mom and I we'd go out to dinner for a birthday, and then we'd go see Harry Potter together. But Lord of the Rings was like everybody in the family wanted to see those, and my cousins and I read the books, and we got pretty like into it. And I think that that was sort of the thing of like they were the biggest movies of the time, and I feel like every other movie, and especially every other blockbuster, tried to live up to the standard of those movies when they came out, which is these are big movies, but they're also going to be extremely entertaining and thought provoking and interesting. And I think the early 2000s was the last truly great time we had for blockbusters, where some of these blockbusters came out, and when you look at them now, they look incredible on restorations. This is the era when like Pirates came out, and it was like Master and Commander and Lord of the Rings and all this stuff was coming out. And you know how much I love and have affinity for this. And I think it's nostalgic. I also think they're just damn good movies at this time, Jay. And so I think Jackson became a very important person. And I think with King Kong and with Lovely Bones going into it, I think it was a gradual decline. And then for the last 15 years, he has proven that every ounce of sort of respect and love that I had was potentially a lie, or I potentially
He just likes his toys, man.
And that's why I think
he's
that
a weird one.
I think that for the generations that were before us, it is a little of that of with Lucas, where it's like this guy was going to be the guy to crack the code for years to come, and instead he found comfort in the things that he was comfortable with.
He kneecapped his own movies,
and he did. And I think, and so, but I'm interested now in going through the series and going through these films, the films leading up to it that I have seen and haven't seen, going through Lord of the Rings more through our approach here on the show. And then I haven't seen King Kong since I saw it in the theater. I haven't seen Lovely Bones since I saw it in the theater. And
Never seen Lovely Bones.
And I tried
rattled those bones.
And I try to stay away from The Hobbit as much as possible. Even though I own them all, because I try to stay away from it, because I have Lord of the Rings, and it's a little bit like I have the original Star Wars trilogy, and I don't need to touch the prequels. And so, yeah, I have this on and off deep connection, but also frustration with Peter Jackson, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much one of those things. The same way that I think, here doesn't make Who Framed Roger Rabbit any worse for me, but it does suck that he just became obsessed with this, trying to quote unquote progress the medium.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit? What a fucking movie.
What a banger. Yeah. We'll see. Again, Lord of the Rings agnostic. We'll spend a lot of time on those shows. I'm sure those will be probably some of our longest episodes. We've got some nerds on there. You know what? Honestly,
we got some nerds on there. Way to call out our guests.
My biggest memory of Lord of the Rings, my main association with Lord of the Rings.
This is not going to probably look good on me, but go ahead.
Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers on PlayStation 2.
Oh, the video game.
An absolute banger. Like, what a good game. Yeah. What a good game.
Remember when they used to make like good games tied to the movies?
Yeah, they were good. I remember Spider-Man 2 had a very good game.
Remember the Batman Begins game being good too.
I do not. I don't think I played that game.
That was fun.
Remember I played Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets on PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
My memory card got corrupted.
Oh no.
So the only way that I could beat the game is if I didn't turn my PS2 off. So I just had to beat it in one run through.
So how many days did it take you?
Probably like 3.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Of just like nothing but Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
Man.
I mean, it wasn't.
Remember when you had the old cards and you had to blow into them, even though that blowing did absolutely nothing, but in your mind, psychologically, it did.
That was another thing I wasn't allowed to have until I never had a system until PS2.
I see everybody would have the system. Like if you had like Jay, if you had a PlayStation, I was still rocking my dad's Nintendo, like old Nintendo. When people got PS2s, finally got a PlayStation. When people got PS3, I finally get a two.
You're one generation behind. You're saving money on the games and on
Exactly.
the system.
Exactly. And then when the Force came out, I was like, listen, folks, I'm just going to buy it myself because I'm not putting up with this shit anymore. But I have learned you don't buy on the initial run. You wait 6 months for the second run when they get all the bugs and everything
I definitely
out of it.
sprang for the that was a COVID purchase, the PS5.
When the
that had to happen.
when the 5 came out, initially we waited, but then the second run came during COVID, and we bought that bad boy.
Yep.
And now I've
good stuff. Braindead,
good movie, wild
good movie,
movie,
fun movie. Quite enjoyed it. So glad that I saw it.
Same here, buddy. Jay,
yeah,
feels like an arbitrary thing that we're going to do, but we're going to have to do this on every one of these episodes because we always do it. Before we get out of here, we're going to test your award season knowledge based on the film we just reviewed, and something we like to call it gets an honor to be nominated. Jay answered the question. Yeah, sadly, it wasn't nominated.
Believe it or not.
This was the year. What year was this, Jay? This was
93.
Was it 1993?
I think.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think you're right. It was 1992.
92.
That's when this movie came out. So there would be the 1993 Oscars.
Well, it came out in 93 in America.
Okay, then it would be the 94 Oscars then at that point. So we're looking at this was the year that
was this?
This was Schindler's List. And this was The Fugitive.
Very similar film.
In the Name of the Father, The Piano, and The Remains of the Day. And this was the year Mr. Hanks won for Philadelphia. Holly Hunter, Your Girl, won for The Piano. Tommy Lee Jones won for The Fugitive. And Anna Paquin won for The Piano. This is Spielberg's big breakthrough.
Piano.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you have nominated this for makeup?
I mean, yeah.
Like I know that you thought I was about to be joking here, but like honestly, the makeup nominees
most makeup
were Schindler's List, Philadelphia,
good makeup,
and the winner was Mrs. Doubtfire.
Hello.
Would this have been like a visual effects?
This is my question about visual effects.
Okay, here we go.
Why is CGI always the thing that wins?
Oh,
why are practical effects not given
their due
consideration?
So what you're saying is you would nominate this?
Probably.
So the nominees were The Nightmare Before Christmas, Cliffhanger, and the winner was Jurassic Park, obviously.
I mean,
yeah, you can't argue that. But like, I agree with you. That's why when we talked about this on the retrospective a couple weeks ago,
also Nightmare Before Christmas is an animated film.
Yeah, but isn't it stop motion?
It's stop motion. So should every stop motion film, should Fantastic Mr. Fox have won visual effects?
Or been nominated? You mean?
Won.
Well, it's like Well, it didn't win. Fantastic Mr.
I'm
Fox.
saying, should it have?
I mean, that was Avatar.
Yeah, but I mean, like, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
No, I'm just thinking back at that year. That was all. I mean, it should have been considered. I mean, Kubo and the Two Strings got nominated a couple years ago
for visual effects.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken,
they did. I know they had a lot. They had a lot of CGI in that movie, but
they did. But like animated movies get nominated, right?
Like, did Oppenheimer win special effects?
No, it didn't get nominated.
Probably should have.
It should have, but they didn't. They didn't nominate themselves
because it was practical.
No, also because Nolan kept shitting on everybody, being like, "We didn't use any visual effects here. We didn't use," and they were like, "But it didn't." I mean, they used special effects in that movie. There's no question about that. But it was the VFX, and the VFX branch is so large within that branch that if you shit all over,
just because you need so many, it takes so many people to do computer stuff.
Yeah.
So now they dominate the branch.
Yes. Well, also too, if you're going to go and shit talk a bunch of people and say that
Well,
that's
that's
not
fine.
part of your film, then guess what? They're not going to nominate you and give
Yeah.
you that win, which clearly it probably should have won. Though then Godzilla minus one wouldn't have won, which was the winner that year. So
That is pretty neat.
that's a pretty neat one. I'm just going to double check here about that Kubo and see if I was right about that. Do you remember what year that came? No, I was right. Kubo and the two strings was nominated in 2016 alongside Deepwater Horizon, Doctor Strange, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, and the winner was The
But
Jungle Book.
if it's VFX, why not just
Well,
like Wild Robot should have won.
the award is nominated for is called special effects, not or visual effects is what it's called.
Wild Robot.
Well, yeah, Wild Robot should have been nominated. It was nominated in sound.
Like, why aren't CGI movies eligible?
I mean, no, what are you asking here?
I just don't understand the qualifications for
I mean,
visual effects.
I mean, they were probably on the long list. Do you want to know the long list for last year?
Are animated films just eligible just by the very nature of animation being a visual effect?
Yeah, but they have to put them up.
Weird category.
I mean, do you want to know like the films that were in the what do you call it? Here in
like the long list?
Yeah, the long list. You want to talk about okay, so the long list there were, and I'm just trying to get this right here. This is the shortlisted films, okay? Mm-hmm. Last year was Beetlejuice, The Fall Guy, Mad Max Fury Road, Kong versus Godzilla, or Godzilla versus Kong: The New Empire.
In Furiosa, not Fury Road.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, Furiosa, Mad Max Saga. I'm sorry. Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire, Here, A Quiet Place, Day One, Spaceman, The Substance, Civil War, Deadpool Wolverine, Gladiator 2, Mufasa, The Lion King, and Twisters. And then the five nominees were Dune Part 2, Alien Romulus, Better Man, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and Wicked.
Mufasa is just an animated movie.
Yes, but they're all doing that on computers. Yeah. None of that's,
I guess so. I don't know.
I'm sorry. I
just don't get it.
Well, you're the biggest awards
expert. The Substance is the one that should have won.
Yeah, that's an incredible special effects driven film.
It's practical.
Yes.
It's all these computer nerds.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I thought Oppenheimer should have won, a couple of years ago.
Anyway, all right.
They had Killers of the Flower Moon nominated on the
What a Braindead episode.
On the short list a couple of years ago.
Braindead, that's what they should call the two hosts of the
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was on the short list.
That's bizarre. That's so weird. I mean, it should have won.
I mean,
I don't get it.
And I don't get it either. Man. I'm sorry, buddy. I failed you. I mean, The Irishman. Yeah, The Irishman makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. Some of these make sense. Like Tenet won.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And most of that's the same way he did Oppenheimer. Pretty much.
I don't know, man. I'm calling malarkey on the visual effects branch.
Oh, you
Come taking at me, visual effects branch.
You taking the crafts people to task?
Yep.
Oh shit. All right. Well, that's Jay for you. Anyway,
they've had it too good for too long.
Was their category even red that one year when we got screwed? I'd have to double check that. Jay.
Yes.
Tell everybody where they can find you and all your work on the internet.
Yeah, Letterboxd J Ledbetter, Twitter at Mr. J Ledbetter. Any writing I'm doing at AwardsWatch.com, and that is all.
You have a recommendation of the week?
Oh, recommendation of the week. Good Lord. Should have been more prepared.
Yeah, should have.
Here I go. Vamping. Oh my God. What have I been doing recently? Not watching movies, apparently. I will recommend the first 30 minutes of Up, which my son has become very fond of. And the first 30 minutes, I think,
first 30 minutes of Up.
Very good. Yeah. And then you can turn it off.
Then you just like, you're done.
Then it gets a little too goofy for me.
All right.
So check that out.
Once again, that's the old Pete Doctor special.
Yep.
Come in for 30 minutes and think, oh, this is going to be good. And then be disappointed by the end.
The doctor might be in, but I'm out.
Yeah, I've been out on that guy for a while. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, Blue Sky at Ryan McQuade 77. You can find on my work here at awardswatch.com. If you like podcasts, we have the podcast that comes out on Mondays. That's the main show because this one comes out on Thursdays. iTunes and Spotify, five-star reviews. We greatly appreciate it. Jesus, I can't speak today. And over on the website, sign up for the newsletter, all that good stuff. Recommendation of the week. Watched, in light of us doing Lord of the Rings, I was going back to some nostalgic trilogies of my past, buddy. And this weekend, I rewatched the Bourne trilogy. And I got to tell you, the Bourne Ultimatum, which is the third one from Greengrass and Damon there, absolutely freaking rips. It rules. Those movies were great. Then we got the whole like Jeremy Renner one and the fourth Damon one, and they stunk up the joint. But that original trilogy,
it's kind of gotten a bad rap. It is now just known as the shaky cam. Everybody's kind of like, that had its time and place, but
they rule.
I need to watch them again.
And
Damon's
good.
Damon's good.
Yeah, controversial opinion. I like Matt Damon.
Directors seem to like working with him.
Can't wait to see him in the Odyssey.
He seems to have good taste.
He's gonna be so good in the Odyssey next year.
What was the
why wasn't he nominated for Oppenheimer? He's great in that movie.
He is great in it.
Which one? Stillwater? Is that what you're gonna bring up?
Yeah, great movie.
I knew exactly what you were talking about.
He's so good in that movie.
You know who directed that?
As the McCarthy.
Tom McCarthy, the guy that you hate because you hate Spotlight so much, but you like Stillwater more.
It's probably my favorite Tom McCarthy movie.
You didn't like The Visitor? Have you seen The Visitor?
Which one is that?
Richard Jenkins one?
Oh, no, I never saw it.
Did you see The Station Agent?
Station Agent I have seen. I think it's pretty good.
Very good. Did you see Win Win with Giamatti?
No.
What about The Cobbler?
I have seen The Cobbler.
I gotta say this about and you saw like the no good.
Oh yeah, the one that just doesn't exist.
Yeah, the one that's on Disney Plus or whatever.
Yeah,
the one about the kid. That one. Yeah, which I thought was fine, and you were like, "This movie sucks."
So like Alex Biggington's Fun Afternoon or something.
Yeah, something like that. I was thinking about him the other day because when we were doing the retrospective, and I was like, "Where is Tom McCarthy? Guy doesn't exist anymore right now. It's weird." Talk about a guy that won his Oscar and Best Picture, made Stillwater, and hasn't made a movie since. It's kind of weird.
I mean, he made Stillwater though, so he's thriving in many ways.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting so much residual money from Stillwater.
Timmy failure mistakes were made.
That's what it is. Thank you, Jay.
Yeah,
couldn't get away from the episode before you mentioned that title. It's on Disney. It's on the Plus. It's on the Plus. So next week we will be back. Continuing our Peter Jackson movie series, we will be talking about Heavenly Creatures. So thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you all next time.